On June 13th, the New York Knicks won their first championship in 53 years.
Wemby tries a three, puts it up, off the mark, Anunoby the rebound. It's over! It's over! Knick fans, this is not a dream. Your long, long wait has ended. Go ahead and cry. After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.
Four days later, the man who owns them went on the radio and told the city the team might not stay together. Not because he's cheap. James Dolan runs one of the richest franchises in sports, in the biggest market in the league, and he said he'll write as big a check as he possibly can. But there is one line he says he cannot cross. He called crossing it a terrible idea.
We're willing to stretch, right? But there's certain things in the NBA that you have to be, suicidal to do, and we're not going to do those. One of them was called the second apron. Cannot go into the second apron.
That line is a number in the collective bargaining agreement called the second apron. And what you're about to learn is that it was designed on purpose to do exactly this. To take the best team in basketball and start pulling it apart the moment it wins. In the NBA, winning isn't the reward anymore. It's the problem the rules are built to solve. We read the fine print, so you don't have to. For decades, the NBA insisted it had no hard salary cap. Teams could always spend over the line and just pay a tax. That's still technically true, but in the 2023 labor deal, the owners built something new, a second line, far above the tax, called the second apron. For next season, it sits around $222 million in team salary. And the moment you cross it, the league doesn't just tax you, it takes your tools away. A second apron team cannot combine two players' salaries in a trade to land a star. It cannot use the mid-level exception to sign a free agent. It cannot do a sign and trade. It cannot send cash in a deal. It can't even sign a good player who gets bought out elsewhere. Strip all that away and what's left? Re-signing your own guys and minimum contracts. That's it.
If where you are, you can bring back your own players, you can sign your draft picks, you can sign your second round picks, but as I said, what the league put into play is basically forcing teams to choose as far as who they want to keep, or basically, I don't want to say all but eliminating, but making it extremely difficult as far as how you want to add to your roster outside of retaining your own players.
It is, in everything but name, the hard cap the league always swore it didn't want. And it's so punishing that only 3 to 5 teams in the entire league are even projected to cross it next season. But the harshest penalty isn't about this year's roster. It's about your future, literally. If your team finishes a season above the second apron, the league reaches 7 years into your future and freezes your first-round draft pick. You can't trade it. It's locked. And if you keep spending over that line, that frozen pick doesn't just stay locked. It can be shoved all the way down to 13th, dead last in the round, no matter how badly your team finishes. Sit with that.
And even if only 3 out of the 4, 3 out of the 5 work, it's still a pretty good number as far as what could happen there. So I do think there's more value as far as especially where the cost is. It's a 4-year contract. You're likely, if you really like that player, you're going to get them for another 4 years on an extension. Second round picks, probably not as much because of NIL. We saw a lot of, it was reversed. I think we had like 18 or 19 freshmen that got drafted this year in the first, and then 19 4 or 5 year guys in the second round. It was like one of the older drafts because of the NIL guys going back to school. So that might certainly play a role.
The usual reward for a team that gets old and bad is a high draft pick to rebuild with. The second apron erases it. Spend big, fall apart anyway. And the league makes you draft last as a penalty for having spent. For the Knicks, finishing next season over the line freezes their 2034 pick. That's the future Dolan is staring at. And it's why a championship owner is talking about breaking up a championship team.
So New York right now is $14 million below the second apron, okay? They've got 5 roster spots open. They have to fill at least 4 of them. Each veteran minimum costs $2.5 million. So when you add the math, Landry Shamet, Mitchell Robinson, they're not going to be here if you're going to want to stay under the second apron. Now, when you moved off that pick last night, pick 24, that pick value was at $3.3 million. So now you got an extra 3.3 in your back pocket. That goes to the kitty right there. We'll see what happens tonight. Pick 31 is valuable, though.
And the Knicks aren't even the clearest victim. Look at what this rule has already done. The Boston Celtics won a title. Then, to escape the second apron, they traded away Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday and let key veterans walk, dismantling a champion to get under a line. They still carry Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, two of the largest contracts in the history of the sport.
The Celtics also traded Kristaps Porzingis to the Hawks. The Celtics, listen, this is all about the second apron. People said they didn't want super teams anymore. Well, here you have it. All these moves are being made to dodge that second apron. For those out there that don't know what the second apron is, in layman's term for you, it's a hard cap. It is a hard cap that no owner is dealing with because the penalties are crazy.
Then there's Oklahoma City, who did everything right, drafted and developed a young core into a powerhouse. Their reward, the instant the max extensions for Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren kick in. They're shoved over the second apron, and suddenly they may be not able to keep their own trio together.
Everyone last summer said, well, what's going to happen with the Thunder, especially after Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren signed those big max rookie extensions here for $239 roughly, which start this year, coming up this summer. And Shea had signed the supermax that actually does not start until 27-28. What would happen to the Thunder? And I pulled a quote from Brad Stevens, and it said, this is based on what happened with Boston. We've been limited in what tools we can use with where we are right now around the second apron. That's what he said to the media.
And back in New York, here's the cruelest part. Jalen Brunson, your finals MVP, already took less. He signed an extension worth about $156 million, when he could have waited a year for a shot at $269. He left over $100 million on the table to give his team flexibility, and it still isn't enough.
You were offered quite a large sum of money in your Knicks deal, but you took less so that they could recruit more of your teammates. Why was that so important to you?
It was important, but also I think the way I looked at it first, you never know what can happen in a year. So when it was presented to me, obviously the deal, being able to play with my mind free, not thinking about if I play well, if I do this, I'll have this waiting for me. I kind of felt like, hey, this is on the table right now. Let me just get this out the way so I can play free. I can play to the best of my abilities without having to think about what could or could not happen. Mm-hmm. And then obviously being able to be on a contending team. I knew that if I did this, at some point it was going to come back for me for something well. Something good was going to come back from it.
Star did everything the system asked, and the rule still wins. One last thing so you know who this is really for. The players collectively are guaranteed their cut, roughly half of all league revenue, no matter what. So, this was never about saving owners money. It's about making sure no team is allowed to stay great.
Okay, so this was put into place how long ago? And it was because the NBA didn't want super teams? Is that basically why it happened? The owners didn't want that to happen?
I think it was 2023, the new CBA agreement. I believe it was 2 years ago. And, I mean, part of it is the parity. The part of it is, you encourage players to stay with their team. I think the other part of it is just, that's the PA and the league. That's what they negotiated. And so I do think it has, to an extent, made it a lot trickier for teams. In free agency, what we're seeing right now is a lot of players re-signing with their team because there's not much money in the market now.
So here's the shape of it. The NBA wrote a rule that treats a great team as a threat to be neutralized. Build the best roster in basketball and the fine print starts a clock on tearing it down. Freezing your picks, stripping your tools, until the thing you built can't be held together. The reigning champion's owner just said it out loud, 4 days after winning it all. So, when the Knicks can't run it back, don't blame Dolan's wallet. Blame the line he's not allowed to cross. We read the fine print, so you don't have to. This is Beyond the Buzzer.